generally, are things just generally getting more difficult with your day-to-day kind of tasks? I know oftentimes a lot of people will have more assistance from like their spouse or significant other or other family members, especially as disease progresses or changes with things like dressing and bathing and different things like that. So another thing to also consider is, are we able to kind of manage all these things okay on our own, either by ourselves or with the assistance from our family members? Do we have resources available if it's getting more difficult so we can still complete it at home, or are we needing a little bit more help? So do we have that slide, Nancy, with the little... Okay. So I found this infographic online that I thought kind of sums up independent versus assisted living pretty well. So a lot of times people will sometimes use this interchangeably, but they are a bit different. Typically, independent living is going to be more, it might be like a senior residential kind of community. It's oftentimes like an apartment style. They'll have different things like the social activities, you can get meals, transportation services, things like that may be available. They may even have like a gym available to people who are interested. And this is really for people, they're still getting around okay on their own. They're still pretty much managing like their daily activities, whether that's just bathing, dressing, going to the bathroom, or even managing things around the house pretty well. Now, for people where things like that is getting a little more difficult, that's when you start to think about more the assisted living. So these are going to be places where they'll actually be able to assist you with your activities of daily living or your ADLs. So that includes like the bathing, the dressing, the toileting. They can also help you with any medication management, things around the house. These are going to be where you may be having a little more difficulty getting around. You may be having a little more difficulty kind of managing your day-to-day, but you might need a little more help than just like a loved one. Now with all of these, they still both offer different socialization opportunities and access to medical care and things like that. Typically, I can't speak for most of them, but typically assisted living is going to cost a little bit more than the independent living because they're offering a bit more services. Now there are ones out there where they're able to follow kind of like a continuity. So you may go, they have places where you could start off and you may be in independent living, but if things are getting more difficult, you can kind of transition into that assisted living. Not all of them are like that. That's going to be more ones that are kind of those larger, almost like facility apartment style kind of residences. The ones that are, because they do have like assisted livings that are just kind of like almost like single family residences almost. Those typically will not have that continuity of care. But that's also certainly something to look into. And while I certainly have not myself gone through this transition, I'm sure there are a few of you out here who may have already gone through that transition or have been looking into that transition. So I'm certainly eager to kind of hear all of your thoughts and your opinions and kind of share and collaborate together.
So let me ask one thing, Allison. One other thing that we talked about that we didn't have on here, and I know that you're pretty informed about, is how about aging in place? If someone felt they had a very strong support system at home, um, how do we decide, do we can we age in place? What do we need for that as opposed to going into independent or assisted living?
I'd say more often than not, we're really going to support the aging in place concept, especially if you do have a strong support system, you kind of have a plan for things down the road, things currently. I'd say the biggest thing for aging in place is going to be making sure, is my home still accessible to me? Like thinking about, are there stairs I have to manage? Thinking about, how is my bathroom set up? Can I use a device within the home if I need to do that? Are there any things like rugs laid out, things like that, that could pose as a fall risk? Are there things that we can modify so that way we can still remain in our homes and age in place, like you said? Another thing that you could think about too, if you have like a good support system with your family, kind of figuring out what other resources are available out there. I know at least locally around here, we do have a pretty good Department of Aging who supports the aging in place kind of process. So kind of reaching out what kind of local things are available to kind of help support that. Because I can't speak for everyone, but I think most people do prefer to try to age in place. So just kind of, what are your supports, whether it's family, friends, and then also what other resources or supports are available, such as through like local nonprofits, local government, things like that, to kind of help you succeed in your goal of wishing to remain in place.
So, how do we, as we're traveling on our IBM journey, and unfortunately, with our journey, we're trying to look at what's going to go, what's going to happen in the future, where we're going to be, what we're going to be able to do. So, what kind of a timeline should we have in trying to make that decision? Is it something that we need to look at when physically, would you say along our journey we should start looking for that?
That is a tough one to answer because it's going to look a little different for each person. Usually the first time I see a patient with IBM, I immediately will start kind of talking about, these are things that we want to think about regarding like an ideal home setup. Um, these may be things that you need sooner rather than later. These may be things that you don't need at all. You may come up with other things that you may need. I'd say the biggest thing in thinking about kind of like the timeline would be kind of judging, how are you doing like mobility wise, ADL wise, in conjunction with how is your home set up for you? If you're having a lot of difficulty like with stairs, but you live in a townhouse and you can't stay on your first floor, that'll probably be more of an issue versus someone who's in like a one level home. Um, and then like if you're have a tub shower versus just a walk-in shower, a lot of it's going to be kind of based on the person, based on where your disease process is at, and thinking about that in terms of, what is my home setup looking like? What is my environment like? With what I am able to do or things that are more difficult for me, is my home set up to really help optimize my being able to participate in all the things I need to do, but also do them safely.
Okay. Um, by the way, ladies, I wanted to mention if you have any additional questions or comments as we're going through this, please put them in the chat. We're monitoring the chat, so we'll be more than happy to answer them as we go through. I'm going through some of the other questions. Are there specific guides or agencies? I know you said um, Department of Aging, but we're all in a special club with IBM, as I call it. And some of our needs for chronic disease might be a little bit different than just the department, just general aging. Are there other specific groups that you think we should reach out to as we're looking at what we're doing, looking at and trying to make these decisions to educate ourselves?
So some of those departments, even though they're called like Department of Aging, a lot of times they will kind of not just focus on aging, but also focus in general of like general disabilities. So even though it's aging, they should still be able to also acknowledge like any potential like physical disabilities that are going on and kind of keep that in mind to really still help promote whatever your goals are.
That sounds good. So, um, are there any other specific comments that you think we need to really talk about and think about?
I think just the main thing is whenever I tell people kind of thinking about either aging in place or looking for alternative living situations, biggest thing to think about is just always your safety. Are you having a lot of falls at home? Is the environment just not set up where you can safely get by on your own or safely just get through a day?
Right.
I think just in general, that should be your number one kind of thing that you're thinking about.
Okay. Laura or Sharon, do either of you have any more comments? If not, we can go into what I'd like to do is we're going to go into breakout rooms. And Allison, are you able to stick around for those?
Yep.
I don't know what your patient load is today,
I
but
had a
we
patient
appreciate.
right before this, but I'm free for the next hour and a half.
Oh yeah, thank you. And we all have to thank Allison because she's taking time out of working with patients like us um, to come talk to us. So, oh yeah, this is interesting. Alert systems if you live alone.
Yeah, a lot of times I will recommend to people, especially if they know that they are a higher fall risk, um, whether it's the simple life alert systems, a lot of the Apple Watches and different smartwatches will now have those fall features. Except I will say some of my IBM patients say that their Apple Watch does not recognize their falls since they're not hard falling, they're just kind of knee buckling and kind of having a slow fall. But I say they're usually still good to have in case you needed help and didn't have your phone readily on you. You can make a call via your watch. Um, Also good to just like carry your cell phone on you in case of emergency, different things like that.
Um, and yeah. So there are a lot of things. Yeah, we're talking about specific items, and I know that we've gone through that in other sessions. So maybe what we can do is go into the breakout session, Sharon. But before we go in there, I wanted just to say one thing, one other quick thing. One of the other questions or topics that did come up frequently, and I think we're all concerned about, is financially what kind of costs are there? Um, and that's a very, very difficult question. Allison, I don't know whether, if I don't think I know I didn't want to burden you with tackling that, but if you could give us a couple of ideas of where to look and there were so many questions that came up on costs. We're going to try to do a meeting or a program on costs over the next several months. So ladies, don't fear, we're going to try to answer all of your questions. But if you have agencies that you think we should talk to initially, that would help.
Yeah, the problem with independent assisted living is they sound excellent, but yes, the financial aspect of it, and then sometimes there can be long waiting lists to get
Right.
into such residences. That's usually the biggest two complaints that I have from people who've either been pursuing them or gotten into them. Um, there are resources available. Um, there's like, I think Medicaid can help out a bit if you're a veteran or if your loved one's a veteran. They can have different programs. There's different nonprofits out there that can try to help fund some of that. Um, Honestly, it is very pricey and can be very difficult.
Mhm.
If you have the resources to reach out to like a financial advisor or things like that to kind of help figure out like how would we get this into motion realistically, um, I think that would probably be the best solution.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mhm.
So Allison's going to stick around as we go into our breakout sessions and we can talk about this a little bit more. Let me go into the next slide and turn, and Sharon, can I turn this over to you? I
Sure.
think maybe what we do, we go about 20 minutes, 21 minutes. Does that
Sounds
sound
good.
okay?
Yes.
Or
Um,
no, about uh yeah, 20. Sounds good.
okay.
Thanks.
All right. So this is the question that will be discussed in the breakout rooms. And it's just when contemplating your future living situations, what are your thoughts on aging in place, which is staying at home, an independent living community, or assisted living? So I know it's really broad, but it's time for all of us to start thinking about it because these decisions have to be made. So we're going to put you into breakout rooms now. And as you know, Zoom automatically does that. We don't have any control over it. So once you get the notification that you've been put into a breakout room, if you'll quickly join that room, greet the others in your room, make sure somebody's willing to be the timekeeper and facilitate what's happening and making sure everybody has a chance to participate. Make sure you have a reporter that's going to come back to present to the group, and then discuss the topic. And there's a lot here, and we already know this can't be the only time we discuss this, but this is our first time to do it. So I'm going to hit this to set up the rooms. The other thing I'm going to ask is um, that you remember the breakout room you're in, because when we come back, that's sometimes an issue when people are trying to remember, whoops, which was our breakout room. So try to remember which group you were assigned to. And then when we come back, you all will be able to report back, and hopefully Allison can even respond to any of the additional questions that come up. Okay, here we go. Okay, you should see the your notification now, and go ahead and join.
Sharon, if you want me to stay here, why don't you go in and join one of them?
You know what? It's okay because I still see there are two people that haven't joined their rooms yet. Let me just see. Kim, are you having trouble joining your room, Kim and Mary Ellen? Kim, if you can click to join room 3, and Mary Ellen too, if you can both click to join room 3. If it's possible. I know sometimes, and just so you know, Kim and Mary Ellen, if you just want to listen in the breakout room and not discuss, that's fine too. So that's always an option.
Okay, I'm gonna hop in one of them, Sharon, and I think we're pretty good on time.
Yeah, I was looking at the time and wondering if Paula will be okay if we're still doing our report backs when
Oh,
she gets
yes,
there. Okay, yeah, that's the only thing I was concerned about is if Paula was only going to be here there a short time, but she can listen to the report backs. That'll be great. So
yeah, no, I think that's gonna be good.
okay.
Okay, so
So I'm
um,
gonna what I'm gonna do now, I've gotta go back to that question, the breakout
yep,
room question, so I can I'm gonna get it in a format where I can share it,
thank you, ma'am. I
broadcast
don't
it
know how to
to
do
the
that.
yeah, I'm gonna broadcast it to the group so that I mean it's
Okay,
pretty straightforward in terms of what we're talking about, but at least they'll have it.
well, I'm gonna join room 3 only because Laura is in 6, and I think we shouldn't have two of us in the same room.
Have what?
Look, I said I was 6 had the least amount of people, but Laura's there, so she's
Oh,
got that
okay.
under control. So I'm
Okay.
gonna go into 3 for, oh, here's Mary Ellen, here she is.
Okay.
So I
I
let her in again, and Marian, I'll let Sharon, do you
yeah,
want
she's
to
let's see if
first
she's
ask her to have a room, assign a room for her?
she was assigned, let me see if she's still assigned to a room after she came back. Okay. She isn't, and looks like maybe room 2 or room 6. Okay, so Mary Ellen, I'm gonna try to, unless I'm not seeing, there she is, so I'm gonna put her in room 6. Mary Ellen, I'm putting you in room 6.
Okay, I
Oh,
lost you for a
great.
minute. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm glad you were able to get back in. You should see
Okay.
it now.
Now it says join breakout room, and when I hit join, that's when
Uh-huh.
you went away.
Oh,
Yes, we do. You,
try it again
oh, I'm
this
sorry.
time and see.
So I
We
should, I
are
should,
going away. You're gonna
Yeah,
go into another room. Don't worry.
there you go.
okay, do I hit join?
Yes, hit join. And it should put you right there in room 6. There, that did it. She's there now.
Good, 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 good. Okay. So let me, I don't even know. And
Oh,
when you're doing this,
I'm gonna pause recording, sorry.
oh,
Uh,
yeah, are back.
I think everyone's back, Nancy.
Okay. So let's change what we've got here. So ladies, how was your breakout room? Good? So now that we're back and everyone had a chance to talk, let's hear what everyone spoke about. Does someone want to start with one of their breakout rooms? Who's going to be first? Group number 1, 2. Is that,
Okay,
do I
breakout room
see?
number 1. You want to start with breakout room number 1?
Sure. Somebody want to talk about what you spoke about in breakout room number 1?
Okay, I was in room number 1.
Okay,
And
thank you, Gail. You want
And
to give us, yes?
the main concerns that we were thinking about were financial things. You know, when you run out of money, what do you do? And assisted livings and, you know, when the assisted living or the independent living, you know, puts you in the assisted part and then the assisted part can't look after you any longer. You know, where do you go and kind of what happens?
That's a good one, and I think that that's something that a lot of us need to think about. As I said, we want to do a whole program on that. But as we're looking for various types of living options, I think that that may be a question you may want to ask as you're going in, because different facilities have different options as we go on our journeys.
Nancy, can I speak up to that point? A lot of these
Absolutely,
a
yes.
lot of these facilities, I have a friend going through this. So they've, a lot of these facilities are going to check to see if you can financially afford to even be there to begin with. And based on longevities, would you have the monies to actually pay your way through? So some of that process is going to be done up front. And that way you'll even know whether you could afford that long term, I guess. And then also you could speak to a financial advisor. This is what it's going to cost me. And these are my startup costs. This is what my monthly costs are going to be. And you know, what can be our financial strategy so I can live comfortably and live in a facility like this.
Great. Thank you, Laura. I think that was good. And Gail, thank you for that comment. And I saw Allison shaking her head, our expert Allison. Is there someone from group 2?
Yes, Linda Hochfeld here. I was in group 2. I represent Nancy, Arlene, Diane, and Lori. We're in the group, and we had technical difficulties, unfortunately. One of our members who was there just was too bubbly in the speak, and I regret we did not get her comments. I think she had much to share. And a couple others, we could not get them quite in, but we got a few texts. But in our group, we did not talk finances. We talked about functioning in our homes. And the biggest challenges were one of our members just had, her husband died in January. And so now she needed to discover what are her options. She uses a walker, no wheelchair. She can drive. I can't, but she could. And so she can get to places, but getting a walker out of the back of your car was difficult. And she's found, she lives in Oregon, that some places refuse to come out and help her. That's not what they're, and I would think it's probably more liability. I don't know what the reason is. You go to a healthcare appointment, you would think that they would offer that, but she has found that difficult. But her biggest things were groceries, getting them, because she lives in a small community. The doctor is 45 miles away for appointments, so she's been able to lean on a neighbor who's been gracious in offering to take her here and there. But since balance is an issue, she's very concerned about that. So I think the distance, I just realized distance and what you have access to is a big issue for each of us. If we're in larger communities, we obviously have a lot more resources. So one of the
Yeah.
things is if anybody, if you could in the chat room to help one of our members, if you found a good Meals on Wheels place to order prepared meals, not where you get the ingredients and you have to make your own, but for good prepared meals, if you'd put that in your chat box, that would be very helpful to some of our members here. And the other was her big challenge was socialization. When you're a small community, you may not have the option of a senior center to be able to go to. So if you have some items like that that you'd like to share, that would be most helpful in the chat group. And
Thank
that
you.
was it.
Al- Allison, do you have any comments on that? You're muted. Thanks.
Yeah, I think she certainly brought up a lot of good points, kind of depending where you're located is going to unfortunately determine what kind of resources are available. Something about socialization. This was something that came up a lot during COVID and kind of reminds me just like this community here, trying to reach out and utilize that online space as much as you can be something that helps a bit with the socialization. But certainly not the same as simply going out, going to a senior center, spending time with friends, things like that. So I know that sometimes that has been a reason why people look into at least like the independent living to try and kind of find that community, to be able to have those kind of options, just like things to do, people to see, things like that. Looks like someone did reply for options for pre-prepared meals in the chat,
Right.
which is good.
Thank you. Where are we for group number 3? I know there were
It's
people
Rhonda.
there.
Sorry, I couldn't get.
Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, everybody. Well, one thing I did want to say, it was so wonderful to be in a group of people who absolutely get what we are going through with this insidious disease of ours. You can talk to relatives, you can talk to friends, you can talk to your sisters, but my group of women just absolutely could all relate to the challenges that we face, even on a daily basis. I would, we just, I don't think there's a one of us that wants to leave our home. And the thought of going elsewhere is emotionally racking. But we all realize our primary concern is we want to be safe and live out our years as best we can. One website that one of our members, thank you, Deb Thomas, suggested was genworth.com, and I will put it in the chat. GENWORTH.com. And it gave suggested averages in different areas for assisted living, for in-home care. Just, we all are concerned about, of course, finances, and it just can help you plan. And that just sounds like a wonderful website to check out. And I think all of us, we don't know where to start. I mean, I'm sure, like most of you, we all want to do a vetting process. We don't want, and also one of our members mentioned that there are waiting lists for many facilities. I don't know 6 months, a year from now. And maybe a question, when I might need assisted living, when I might need to make that change. And I don't know if Allison, there's not a, if Allison, maybe a question for Allison is, you know, what is the defining moment? Like if I fall 3 times in a month, you know, does that send a red flag up to go that, oh, it's time to go, you know? But I don't know how you plan ahead when the crystal ball is fuzzy. Um,
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. I don't think you should have to make that decision on your own because, like you said, it's definitely a difficult decision to make, and it's going to vary person to person, one to make that decision and if it's best for you. So instead of just trying to make it on your own, discuss like with family, discuss with any support systems in your life, like with your doctors, if you're seeing any therapists, just kind of look at the whole picture, kind of see all the different variables that are in place to really try and kind of help guide your decisions. It's unfortunately one of those things where the overarching answer is just kind of, it depends.
And Allison, are there any other places? I don't know how you vet an assisted living facility. I mean, certainly, you know, all of us look at the cost, and sticker shock is, I think, quite common. But I also want to know, how do I determine? Are they rated or graded A, B, C, D? I don't know how you would even check places out.
Oftentimes online you can see different ratings about different places. Also good to kind of consider like where exactly is the facility. So like how I mentioned before, they have some where it's kind of like almost like a single residence, a very small facility setup, but there's other ones that are kind of part of a larger community and they may have that continuity of care. So if you think that's something where you may need more resources down the road, that could be a good thing to look into. And I've heard a few people say they've been able to kind of go and tour different places and kind of get a feel for it in person instead of just jumping into that decision. So that's certainly an option as well. And I see Laura raising her hand too.
And I'm gonna jump in just for a second. Rhonda, one of the other things is the majority of these probably have to go through a state regulatory agency. So I think from state to state, you want to look at the regulatory agency to make certain all of their licenses are up to date. And especially if there are quietly any violations that are going through. So, statewide, for those of you, we need to be aware of that. Laura, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to speak to what Allison was saying and answer the question. One member of our group, and we'll speak to a lot of the stuff later on, but I just wanted to interject there that she found a company that they're like a realtor company, but what they do is they take you around to all these facilities, and she said they get paid a commission by the facility or however it works, that she didn't have to pay anything out of pocket. And they took her, she told them what she was interested in, and they took her around to a bunch of different facilities to view them.
Thank you, guys. So, Rhonda, thank you. Any more comments from your group?
I think that about does it. I do think this is
Okay.
such a vital, important topic for each of us,
Thank you.
and big decisions, big decisions.
Absolutely. Ladies, group number 4. Is there someone that wants to speak to group number 4? You have to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
We
Thank
didn't
you.
really designate anyone, so I'll just speak. We had a kind of a combined group. We had a couple folks that live alone and then some others that live with, still have spouses to help them out. But so we talked a little bit about some of the things that we have in place at home, to be able to independently live. And I think most of us would like to stay there at home. But of course, the financial issues came up, and similar to what we've discussed already in terms of how we can afford it without long-term care insurance in place. And I think I speak for myself. When we're younger, we don't ever think about those things. And when we need it, it's too late to get the insurance. So hopefully I try to pass that on to my nieces in terms of thinking ahead about some things, but that probably falls on deaf ears. But anyway, if anyone else from the group wants to add to that, please feel free.
Okay, thank you very much. Ladies, who's in group 5?
I am. I'm, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes. Thanks,
Okay.
Marcia.
Okay, so there was some overlap with other groups talking about similar things, certainly finances. One thing that came up is that politically, if there will be cuts made to Medicaid, that will affect nursing homes. That a large percentage of Medicaid dollars go to nursing homes. One person said that the cost of having care at home full-time would be approximately $800 a day. So 24/7 of care at home is also very expensive. We talked about home modifications, ramps and automatic lights, toilets. One person had a wonderful saying that she came across, and that is that it's better to plan 5 years early than 5 minutes too late. So that certainly plays into the need to think ahead, plan ahead. A woman in Florida has met with a consultant who helps find options for future living. We talked about the importance of asking for help. It's not easy to do, but it's important to do. And we found something that we all seem to have in common that I don't think has ever come up before, a little bit unrelated to looking at assisted living, but we all agree that we tend to feel very physically cold. And we wondered if that's IBM related. I certainly am part of that group that's always feeling cold. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for group 5.
Thank you. And that's a good question. Laura Richardson, were you in group 6?
Yes, I was. Fortunately, we had a member of our group that actually has gone through this process, and she is and it's independent living, but they have care levels there. So she's a care level 1, where she needs help getting in and out of the shower because of a lip that's there. She's independent in the shower. It's just that assistance. And then I believe it was assistance with getting dressed and things like that. She's able to undress herself. Some of the things that she brought up, which was she is in a wheelchair, and she chose a facility that is close to a downtown area. So there's access to restaurants and places to go to, that she can be in her power chair and go around. So she's not just confined to her four walls. The monthly cost, she doesn't, she's in a facility where you don't own it. You actually pay a monthly rent. It is a cost, but I believe her meals were included, but I may have just put that down as a note. There are levels of van transportation, and they're generally at her facility. It's used for regular wheelchairs and not a powered wheelchair. So those things have to be taken in consideration. You can check, I said hers has the care plans. I mentioned that. The facilities vary with the amount of their monthly costs and what you are looking for to have as your help. A lot of them include all the utilities except for cable. And as far as one of the questions earlier about the cost associated with living in one of those facilities or getting into them, which I mentioned earlier, a friend has put their down payment in a year and a half ago. And some people have put their down payments as much as 10 years ago. And this person was actually already offered an apartment, but that apartment couldn't be renovated to how they wanted it set up. So they backed out for now, but it doesn't change their position in line. A lot of facilities have a pot for people who I said are like, I'll call you when I'm ready. But because it's time stamped when they put their deposit down, it automatically brings them to the front of the line when it's their time to go. Another thing that was brought up for people who are still living at home, which the majority still are, think about the costs related to renovating your home to be able to live independently there. Having cost of a housekeeper. And depending on the remoteness of where you live, a lot of grocery stores, Walmart, even Costco and BJ's now are offering delivery services to your home. So that's a positive. ADL assistance or ADLs just in your own home, having the high shower chairs or a shower bench that has the slide chair over to get you in and out. They have, I think they have up to a 22-inch high, I think, toilet seat now or something like that. Besides having the ones that are electric, the lift ones. Yeah. I can't think of what the name of that is. One of the things was brought up about reaching out. This was brought up at an earlier one about reaching out to your local senior center, because they often have a coordinator there can actually help you look into either the help at home, or they maybe will have the resources to help you find something in your community to help you along that process. I think I talked long enough. Oh, I guess part of the interview service is when you go into some of these facilities is the questions of what happens or what do you do when you run out of money? In the facilities where you're actually buying the apartment, oftentimes there's a return to the family of 60 to 90% of the value of that apartment. And one of the facilities that this person has gone to knows that they almost treat it like a reverse mortgage when the person runs out of money, and they will take their monthly fee off of what the value of the return value to that family. So there may be more monies available to keep you in that place longer than you realize. Thank you.
Laura, no, you're welcome. That's great.
Can I add one thing to
let's try to wrap this up quickly. Sonia, if that was you, can we put this in the chat? We've got a couple more things, I'm sorry, that we need to get up to talk about. But Allison, do you have any closing remarks for us?
Nothing in particular. I think everyone brought up a lot of good points, and it's certainly just very difficult decisions, but just remembering you don't have to do it alone. Talk with your loved ones, with any other supports, such as like doctors or therapists, to kind of help guide your decisions, financial advisors, things like that.
Great. Thank you all. Ladies, I can't thank you enough for this. There are so many things that came out of this discussion that we will follow up on in future meetings. So, we're going to keep on going with a lot of these things with various experts. Please feel free to send us an email. We're happy to share this with other people. But there are a lot of things that we don't have answers on. We just want to make it a little bit easier for all of us as we're going through our IBM journey. As we said with that, now I have to change hats and talk about some of the things that are going on this month, some of the things that are going on in May, as we're going forward. And I'd like to introduce you all to TMA's executive director if you have not met her. So Paula Eichenbrenner has been with TMA now for about a little over a year, Paula.
That's right. And what a year it's been, Nancy.
So we're going to talk about that. And thanks for joining us in your busy schedule. As you see, we have a lot of things to talk about that we're going to have a couple more meetings on to follow up and really get through with the things that we discussed today. So,
sure. Well, it's always a pleasure to be with your group, Nancy. And I know that the topics you and Laura and the co-leaders pick are always so relevant because you never have empty airtime. You know what I mean? This is a very active group with lots to discuss every time I've joined. So it's great to be with you all again. Hi, I was enjoying the discussions. I connected about half an hour ago, and I took quite a few notes for the next hints and hacks column of TMA's monthly newsletter.
And we're going to have to talk about that offline.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I have this month first. I'll let you. Oh, no, sorry. I'll start with this first.
Yes. Okay. Thanks, Nancy. So as everybody is aware, Rare Disease Month is usually February. Rare Disease is February, rather, not usually. It's always February. Rare Disease Week is always the last week, and Rare Disease Day is always the last day of February. Sometimes that's leap year. This is not a leap year. So Rare Disease Day is February 28th. And we are very excited at TMA for this observance. I'll put a link in the chat to a page on our website that has more information, including the information about the activities at NIH, which are co-sponsored by NIH, the National Institutes of Health, and FDA. And there is a free virtual registration option where you can follow along for this 2-day program. On Friday, the 28th, one of our TMA leaders, a co-leader of TMA Minnesota support group and myositis advocate, Lindsay Gunsell, is speaking at 2:30 Eastern on Friday, February 28th. So we're particularly excited to have Lindsay, who is someone living with dermatomyositis, helping us to elevate the visibility of myositis within the rare disease space. This might be a factoid you don't already know, but there are more than 10,000 diseases that are deemed rare. And so the forms of myositis are among 10,000. And any opportunity that we can take advantage of to increase the visibility for myositis helps us increase research funding and interest among clinicians entering the field and colleagues like Allison's at Hopkins and continuing to work in this space. So Lindsay is also leading a webinar for us this coming Thursday. That's at noon Eastern, to help all of us learn how to tell our stories more powerfully, again, so that we can amplify myositis during rare disease observances. So the link to register for that webinar is linked from the page that I put into the chat. And we have a lot of other stuff going on this month. We're hoping to raise $5,000 with 50 donors coming together for TMA's Patient Conference Scholarship Fund. TMA's Patient Conference, which began in 1995, is celebrating 30 years this year. It will be in Dallas in September. So if you can help us help more myositis families get to the conference, we thank you for your donation. All sizes are welcome. Any questions, Nancy, or anything else you'd like me to touch on?
Well, as we're talking about that, I thought you would talk about this slide. Or would you like me to?
Let's
Why
both
don't
talk
you
about
start
it.
and I can follow in.
Perfect.
Follow up.
Okay. So I think in myositis, we are so fortunate to have the rare disease time period of February kind of queuing us up and getting us all in the spirit to raise more awareness of myositis during Myositis Awareness Month, which will be here before we know it in May. And leading up to this Myositis Awareness Month, for the first time, we have undertaken a nationwide effort to secure proclamations in each of the 50 states. And so we have been recruiting state coordinators all in 2025 as we've gone along, and we're down to just 6 states remaining. So if you're in one of these 6 states, I hope you'll consider the opportunity to join us. I'll put a link in the chat for you to sign up to do that. And Nancy is one of our state coordinators, so I'll let Nancy share about the process to secure a proclamation and submit the request and all of that. Over to you, Nancy.
Thank you. So I am currently a resident of Florida, and I have teamed with Lori Boyer, who is actually I've known for years, and is the chairman of our board of directors. But we are this I think is a really major initiative for all of us, especially all of us that are on this call today. People don't know what myositis is. People don't understand it. People don't know what we go through. And we need to create awareness. We need to make those our friends in Washington, as we're asking for what's happening with the cuts. We need to make certain the people in our state government that handle some of the Medicaid programs, that handle the departments of aging that we're talking about today as we go forward, that oversee our assisted living homes, we need to make them aware of what we're dealing with myositis. So what TMA has done is very, very easy and very, very simple. And they put together a letter that we can send to our mayors, to our county executive people, or to our governors, or to any people that are public officials in our state, to ask them for a proclamation. And there are even the words for the proclamation that are in this kit. So currently, what Lori and I have done is we're fortunate in a large state. We have written a letter to the governor of Florida and asked them for a proclamation. They have received it and confirmed that they've received it. So we're waiting for their response, and hopefully it will be approved and we will get the proclamation that we're going to be able to see. We've also contacted some of our local representatives. But what's important right now, and you guys can help us with, if there is anyone online from Mississippi, Montana, North Dakota, I think I heard Oregon from somebody, Vermont, West Virginia. We really would love your help, and it's very easy to do. We have all the stuff, so we just ask that you reach out to us, send us an email, send us a text, and we'll send the information and walk you through it.
Yep.
And go from there. So, any questions, any comments, Paula,
I think you
for
stated
that?
it beautifully, Nancy.
Thank you, thank you. So, ladies, with that, I'm gonna remind everyone also, if you'd like to save the chat, go into the chat, you'll see the three dots, and click on that. It says save chat. Um, so so that you can get all of this information. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, March 18th. Our April meeting is April 15th. Same time, same place. We are currently waiting for responses from some professionals to come deal with us and talk to us, um, hopefully in a similar format, so they can talk to us from a professional level about the various topics. And then we can go into our breakout sessions and really talk about that topic, come back again. And we've got some real good things that are planned for you guys in the next few months. So with that, we're gonna say, this is not coming up, but I'm gonna say, as we all know, um, we keep thriving because IBM places significant demands on us. We can't deny the impact of IBM, but we can continue to develop strategies to enhance our ability to thrive. And to paraphrase Maya Angelou's statement, we're changed by what happens to us due to IBM, but we're determined we won't be reduced by it. So with that, we're going to give a huge shout out to everybody who's on this call today. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, everybody that was here participating, and Laura and Sharon, and Paula. And we will see you again, hopefully next month. And we look forward to any questions, any problems, reach out to us, and we'll see you soon. Thank you, everybody. See you again soon. Thanks. Have a great day.
I think I put everybody back in the waiting room that was lingering.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
I think it was a very beneficial session, and that reality, I think, is now gonna click for people even more to start thinking about it. I like that one statement. I think Lori, maybe you mentioned it, or one of the other groups, I'm not sure, about, that it's better to be 5 minutes, 5 years
than
too
5
early than 5 minutes too late.
Right. And that's what I said, my friend that's going through this, that, they've only had their name on the waiting list for a year and a half. And they were contacted once, but the engineer said they couldn't configure it the way it was. Now, I don't know how long it took Bitsy to get into her place. And that I understand that's a very nice assisted living there. What?
Yeah, is she in there yet? Did she move?
I
Laura?
believe she moved. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she has moved in. Yes.
Yeah, I haven't heard from her yet. That's an area in Maryland. It's not too far from downtown Baltimore. So it's a nice community. Yeah.
Right. But depending on where the person lives, like the girl that was in our group, Sonia, she actually was able to get in right away. But she said it's a newer facility and, it's just something to think about. But one of the things I didn't realize, I figured you had to put a lot of money down. But there's some facilities that you just put your name on the list and the money is refundable too. So, and it was $1,000. And you can put yourself in the pot that says, hey, I'm not ready yet, but I'll call you when I'm ready. But that gets you ahead of the line. So you really got to think about these things.
You know what I would love to do? I wish there were some sort of a bullet, and not an outline, but a list of bullets that we could, or somebody could help put together, that we could use for what do we have to look for in facilities? What do we have to look for in equipment? What do we have to look for in care? That would be great, as
And
I mean, for us.
yeah, one of the questions I put in the chat that Allison didn't get to answer was, once you move into one of these places, and especially if you're in the independent living, can you still have your in-home PT and OT there? Or, because you are independent living. Assisted living, they might have a program already in place. And I don't know if there's restrictions with some of these facilities. I just don't know. They may want you to use their people. So, I mean, there's just things to think about.
There are, the biggest concern, the biggest takeaway I got today from everything was financial. And financial chronic disease, financial with Medicare. I think a lot of people are concerned about what's happening with Medicare, Medicaid. Um, I think it might be more problems with Medicaid than Medicare going forward. But
who knows what's going to happen right now?
I know
there's a lot in limbo. So, I mean, we're not going to go there politically, but I'm saying there's a lot in limbo and everything can change. So,
but the thing that I'd like to try to see, and if anyone has an idea, I'd love to be able to have someone who's an expert, who's a financial expert, talk about, maybe not, they're not going to be able to talk about everything, but if we can put a list together, some sort of a checklist. What do we need for housing? What do we need for our mobility expenses. What do we need, for help, whether it's independent,
One of
know,
the things that you can get is there are lawyers, and this could be a speaker down the road that will help the person get their finances all straight so they can transition to get state aid. Because we went through it with my dad to get state aid.